So now that we have the selection, let's go ahead and do the lookup and use AJAX to talk to the server. So we're going to use something called an XML HTTP request to do this. And so let me find the documentation on that. XML HTTP request at developer.mozilla.org. And I'll provide the link to this in the readings, but the basic idea here is you create one of these and you specify an onReadyState change function. And then every time the request changes state, it's going to call that function. And you can check the ready state value. It'll go through unsent to open, headers received, loading, and done. When it hits done, that means it's both sent the query and also retrieved the results. And then when that happens, you can also look at the status, which is going to be the hypertext transfer protocol status. And so if you've ever tried to find a resource and you got like a 404 document not found or a 302 redirect or a 500 some odd permission problem or whatever, those are hypertext transfer protocol return statuses. So we're going to be looking for a status of 200, which means that the document was fetched successfully. And then we'll take a look at more in the debugger. So what I'm going to do is I'll get rid of these console log messages for now. And what I'm going to do here, if I've actually gotten a search, I'm going to call fetch word, and then I'm going to pass it in words. So let's start by creating an XML HTTP request object. Make sure I got the spelling right on that. Yep. So we want a new one of these. So we're going to create an instance of the class. And then we're going to set onReadyStateChange equal to a function that's going to get called back. And we can look at the HTTP request dot, and that's going to be the ready state. It's ready state. Yeah, ready state. So if ready state is equal to XML HTTP request dot done and HTTP request dot status is equal 200, that means we're done. And in here we actually have some stuff that's useful. So that's where I want to put a breakpoint and take a look. So console.log got here just as a placeholder. And now that I have my object and I've set up the callback, there's basically two steps. First, you open the request, and then you can send the request. So HTTP request dot open, and I'm specifying what type of request it is, and you can either use GET or POST here. Then the URL you want to access, which is going to be the path to my PHP page, which is here. Whoops, here. So copy that. Paste that. And then instead of just putting in Abakai there, plus words. And then there's some optional parameters. So you can specify this as either asynchronous, which means that basically this command and the send are going to return right away, and your code can do whatever it's going to do, and your browser won't lock up, and everybody's happy. And then at some point in the future, when the results actually arrive, then your function is going to get called. So that's asynchronous. The request is sent in the background, hence asynchronous JavaScript and XML. Or you can do this as a synchronous request, which basically means that when this thing fires off, when you actually send the request, your browser is just going to sit there. It'll basically freeze until the response is received. And sometimes you want synchronous requests. I mean, it makes some of the coding easier, but almost always, to be a well-behaved JavaScript application, you want to use true here, which is the default. So I can even leave that out and still have it the same. And then after opening the request, you send the request. And then this happens in the background, and eventually I'll get the ready state. So let's go ahead and see what we have so far. And I'm going to go ahead and reload and press the Dict button. Fetch word is not defined. Probably misspelled it. Fetch words. So try it again. Okay, and no errors. So this time I'm going to go to my JavaScript, and I'm going to put a breakpoint right here. So when we've received the response, let's look at it. So we got here, and we should have an HTTP request object as a local variable. It's actually inside, so we're inside of a function that's inside of the scope that has HTTP request. So this is actually inside of a closure. So let's look for our closure. Inside of another closure. This is a circular structure, so I'm just going around in loops now. Oh, it's right there, I'm sorry. So here's our HTTP request. And we should have a response. And this response is a blob of text. Response text is a blob of text. Response type, response URL. So let's look at the HTTP request response. Can I access it from console? Probably not. Yeah, I can. So request.response is a piece of text, and response text. It's the same thing in this case. So what we're going to do is we're going to get that. It's our definition, and then we're going to display it. And then here, we'll define our display definition function. And then for now, we'll just go ahead and write it to the log. Save that and reload. Actually go to sources, get rid of the breakpoint, and continue. Reload. And now, if I look up the dict, here's the definition right there.